artists of this time period were so fascinated with asparagus. So today we are moving on to this portrait here, which is called Portrait of a Woman with Red Hair. Quite an obvious title and not very imaginative. So like always, we are going to take a screen grab and then open our Goodnotes app and open up the image. So what can we see from this painting before we dive right in? So we see a woman with really quite bright red hair, almost to the point where it's quite yellow towards the roots, where the light is coming down onto it. Her hair is really, really long. It looks really thick and luscious. Her head is tilted downwards in this direction, but I think her eyes are looking kind of out towards us. She stands in this really, really provocative sort of a pose with her hand on her hip, just here. And she looks very powerful, very strong. She knows how to carry herself. She wears a dress, like a bandeau kind of a dress. What seems to be in a velvet kind of material. Velvet. And around the waist, she appears to be wearing a belt made similarly of velvet as well, but it's tied with this kind of string rope, I guess, kind of material, which kind of goes down a little bit. She doesn't appear to wear any jewellery, though around her wrist is something here, but I'm not really sure what that is. And apart from that, the rest of the backdrop is plain black, as to sort of stand out her beauty. Obviously the main thing here is that her bare arms, her bare chest is exposed. And obviously depending on the era of this painting, this would have been labelled obscene because of the bare flesh and probably the hair being loose and free. So let's go back to our Goodnotes app and see what this painting is all about. So, like I said, this is called Portrait of a Woman with Red Hair, and it is a painting by Joanna Romani in the second part of the 19th century. So yes, it would be probably fair to assume that this kind of pose or this kind of I guess exposure of bare skin would probably be is from March the 1st. I'm recording this in April. As you may know, we are limited to public domain works, the old art, and for centuries the official art history forgot women, but that won't stop us. In the following month, in the app, on our social media, and in the Daily Art magazine, you will see plenty of women artists, some of whom even we have never heard of before. Daily Art is run by 5 women daily, so the cause to promote women artists is very close to our hearts. I didn't actually know that Daily Art was run by 5 women. I love this app even more now. So, let's start with Joanna Romani and her amazing depiction of a powerful woman. Yes, we deduced that she was very strong and powerful. Born in Velletri, Italy, Joanna Carolina Carlesimo, known as Joanna Romani, moved with her family as a young girl to Paris, where she first encountered painting as an art school model. At 19, Romani began her training as the pupil of Jean-Jacques Henna, before becoming a student of Ferdinand Roybet, and later his mistress, like Roybet, she chose historical subjects and painted many portraits of young, mysterious women in costume, regularly working directly onto canvas without the use of preliminary sketches. Romani was particularly skilled in accurately rendering the refined materials of Renaissance fabrics against the pale skin of her models. Yes, we deduced that, didn't we? Some representing powerful female mythological or biblical figures such as Salome from 1888 onwards. Romani exhibited regularly at the Paris Salon, earning fame from her compositions and becoming a wildly recognized artist through a series of published photographs of her at work in the studio or posing in the latest fashions, though she was a model herself. While some critics unfairly considered Romani a follower of Roy Bett, which is typical in the narrative about women artists back in those days, her talent and artistic sensitivity stood out distinctly from many others. And this was oil on panel. So we didn't actually learn a lot about the actual painting itself, we learned just more about the artist. So we can make some deductions from what we've learned about the style, but unfortunately not about the why and the when, so to speak. But we can do a good analysis of the artist, which is nice. Alright, good notes. So let's choose a nice colour. Well, let's choose white, so it'll stand out. So this is called, is it the portrait? I think it's portrait, just a portrait of a woman with red hair. So, oops, we don't want it that big. we found out a little bit about the woman in this painting, albeit a very generalized depiction of her based on Romani's other work. But what we can deduce is that it depicts strong female characters, and mostly in costume. Okay. So why this is not doing it? We learned that she was skilled in accurately rendering the refined materials of the Renaissance fabrics. So she was skilled at rendering. Renaissance. I'm just going to check that spelling. Renaissance. Renaissance fabrics against pale skin. Fabrics against pale skin. What else do we know about this particular painting? Not an awful lot. So, what do we know about the artist herself? She was born in Velletri, Italy. Born in Velletri, the duties. Velletri, no, just one T. Velletri, Italy. And she was a still life model, wasn't she? She moved to Paris as a young girl, and she was an art school model. So she moved to Paris as a young girl, and she was an art school model. Okay. Art school model. And at 19, she began her training as the pupil of Jean-Jacques Henna. So, at 19, became the student of Jean-Jacques Henna. studio or posing in the latest fashions. So, she was famous for photographs of her at work or posing in latest fashions. Not necessarily her artwork, which I think is a bit sad. While some critics are feeling and talent and artistic sensitivities stick out directly from many others. So, artistic flair stood out from many others. Alright, I think we have all of our notes there. So let's go over and see what we have learned. So this is the Portrait of a Woman with Red Hair by Joanna Romani. She was born in Velletri, Italy, but she moved to Paris as a young girl. She worked as an art school model, and at 19 she became a student of Jean-Jacques Henna. She was then the student and mistress of Ferdinand Roybet. She worked directly onto canvas without sketches, and her work was shown at the Paris Salon very frequently. She was actually more famous for photographs of her at work or actually posing in latest fashions. But her artistic flair stood out from many others during the time of this painting. She painted biblical or mythological figures, and she was very skilled at rendering Renaissance fabrics against pale skin. She liked to depict strong female characters in costume. So we didn't add the date, second part of 19th century. So this was second part, 19th century, and it was oil on panel. Oil on panel. Okay, so that is our art appreciation of The Portrait of a Woman with Red Hair by Joanna Romani, and I think it's a very striking painting, and I really like it. I kind of like not empathize, but relate to this woman here, and I think it really shows feminine beauty but strength all at the same time. I think it's a wonderful piece of art which is so simple yet so striking and so bold at the same time, and I think it's really lovely. So thank you so much for listening, guys. I hope you have found this to be relaxing